Hello and welcome to the ASUG News Studio at ASUG Annual Conference in Sapphire Now. I'm Craig Powers and I'm once again happy to have another great HR panel for you. Today we're going to be discussing what is really an under-discussed topic, which is an employee loyalty. And once again I have with me our HR community advocate, Sherryanne Meyer, who's basically taken out rent on that chair down there. And then I also have with me Brigette Mcinnis-Day, who's an Executive Vice President of HR at SAP, and Sharon Cook, who is Director of HCM Practice at Hypercision.
Correct.
Good, I got it right. All right. So today, what I wanted to get into, I'll have you start, Sherryanne. Companies are often saying that employees are their most important asset. What's the reality there?
I think it varies by company. I think some companies do a really good job at this and some don't. Like SAP, Brigette, I've worked with a lot of people now at SAP, and you guys have some really great programs to help develop people up through management, and I think that makes them feel valued. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure, thank you. A couple of things that we're doing there a little bit different out there. In terms of how do we grow our talent, that's one of our big focus areas, and we've moved from just focusing on the top talents or the high potentials, maybe the top 5%, we're moving to everyone as a talent. I think that's a pretty strong statement in terms of how we develop people. A couple different things I'll just call out that are a little bit different. We have employee fellowships where you can go out of your job for 3 to 6 months, pretty creative, and you can learn something else and come back to your organization. Something else that's really nice is our social sabbaticals. So I just had a passing with one of our early talents last night, and she just came back from India. She said, my thought perspective, my outlook on my career is completely changed just from that experience. So that's something we can give them beyond just learning and beyond just shadowing. So those are some of the things I think that bring loyalty, but also attach you to a company.
Great, and that's SAP sounds like a great example of what a company can do. So Sharon, you have a history on both sides of HR, IT and business.
Exactly.
And you're working with customers right now. What do you see that they're doing to improve or not do well on employee loyalty?
We're actually seeing it being a great concern in a lot of companies. I mean, even smaller organizations that might not have the resources to put together so many plans are finding creative ways, doing job shadowing, giving examples of training that's maybe more specific to grow an individual directly in a career path. And I think a lot of the work around just better defining roles in an organization and letting that information be more transparent in an organization so an employee can actually see that focus in an organization is helping significantly. Those organizations where I'm not seeing that happen so much does tend to make some folks a little less committed to the organization and just not feeling quite the same part of that organization, where they might start looking elsewhere or perhaps really just not even feeling quite that motivated in the organization. Right,
so employee how an employee feels could impact retention and really their work quality at the same time is what you're saying.
Exactly, and I think it always bodes well for you, I think, socially also. When you have an employee that goes out and speaks highly about their role, it really sets your organization apart at that dinner party and in the social media, and how many of us make decisions on, gee, is that a good company to work for or not a good company to work for, on that sort of engagement from somebody that's currently there.
Right, and that's great, and one of the things that I was talking to you earlier, Brigette, about to keep employees engaged was with succession planning. And so how can you keep them engaged with succession planning?
A couple different things. I think that succession planning has been around for a long time, right? It's something you hear for legacies, but I think the important part is really around the transparency in your succession planning. Do you tell the people who are on succession? Do they know what maybe their opportunities are, their career paths, or what you think of them? That's a strong message. It's never a guarantee for sure, but I think it's also really important that people know that all the way down in the organization that people are planning their career, it's important, and they're part of that discussion. A couple other things I want to just share as well. I think that sometimes we think it has to be a big program or you have to spend a lot of money to engage employees, and I think that's of the past. It's just basic communication and knowing that when I'm out there trying to sell some deals, whether I'm in sales, you call and say, how are you doing? And they're feeling okay. It's called pretty much show the love. So we talk about how do you communicate to people, not via email, not via a big workshop, it's really one-on-one communication to know that someone cares about me at work, I'm part of a community, and I have a friend at work. And that typically will be why people stay at a company.
Yeah, that's really good advice to, to one thing you can do to ensure employee loyalty. How about from Sherryanne and Sharon? Do you have maybe, we have about 30 seconds, maybe another tip to help ensure employee loyalty?
I think one of the things is also working with your managers and helping to provide some coaching and counseling skills along that line. I think managers in this day and age have so much of a job onto themselves that sometimes that thinking about managing their own employees and giving that attaboy, attagirl doesn't always happen. So I think that's a real key point.
Yeah, feedback from managers is always important.
The feedback loop is really important, very, very important, even between peers. I mean, sometimes I remember a very illuminating moment for me was one time when I was young. I was in my 20s and I was very unsure of myself, and my older sister said, well, Sherry's really the smart one of the family. She can do X, Y, Z. And I was like, wow, it was really enlightening to me to hear something I didn't think anybody noticed about me. So I think, and I've tried to consistently do that with my peers too, to point out really great things that they've done. I think that helps.
Yeah, I know I work with you, and you say nice things to me on occasion, so that's great.
Occasion, yes.
All right, well, this has been a great panel. I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. For more great customer tips, head to asugnews.com.